not come anywhere particularly special. It's a grey day, which are actually my favourite kind of days. I'm using the Panasonic G7, possibly be a bit of B-roll from using the phone. But as I said I would do, I thought I would start using the Panasonic G7 for the vlogumentary entries. Although I have managed to solve the problem with the Google Pixel 2 XL, and so technically speaking I could probably start using the lapel mic. I tried it yesterday and it seemed to work fine, and I think it was just a case of a bit of trial and error. But I've already committed myself to using the Panasonic now, so that's what I'm going to do from here on. I'm trying out the widest angle lens I've got. It's 12 to 32 millimeters for anybody who knows about cameras. So it's the first time I'm using this. I managed to buy an ND filter for it, so it's still a bit of a test vlog in many ways. Oh, this is aching my arm though. I've got to work out a way of holding the holding the camera without it aching my arm too much. Come on. So I've decided to actually just walk back to the car. It's just I think every combine harvester that could come out has come out, and so it's too noisy. The place I wanted to go to was impassable. Occasionally you do come across footpaths in England where they haven't been maintained. It should be maintained throughout the year, but sometimes they're not. They should be reported if they're blocked or not well maintained. It is something that is disappointing when you want to go for a walk and they're blocked. But it's really windy. It's really windy. But I'm gonna go and find another location that's a bit quieter. And also, to be quite honest, I've been hearing the rumblings of a thunderstorm since I got here, and so I don't want to be caught in a thunderstorm. Panasonic G7 is a good camera, but it's not waterproof, so I shall be having a wander, look for somewhere to talk. This is crazy. I've never known it to rain like this. You might not even be able to hear anything I'm saying at the moment. I don't even know if this is even worth talking. I've decided I'm not going to drive at the moment until this rain has passed. I think it is a passing shower. It's quite interesting actually, because it kind of ties in a little bit to what I want to say anyway. Might need to just adjust the sound because it's peaking really loud. I'm aware that. Oh look, and that's stopped. It's just stopped. Wow. I did want to go somewhere nice, as I always do. There was no rain forecast whatsoever. It was meant to be something like 10% precipitation chance. Well, obviously, that was wrong. But it's again, I'm finding meaning. I'm finding meaning perhaps where there is no meaning. But I thought, you know what? I'll come away from where I started, because that was a pointless place to go. Brampton Ash is the name of the place, near Dingley in Northamptonshire. Just too many combine harvesters. There's nothing particularly inspiring about the area. I shan't be going there anytime soon. There was blockages to the footpath where I wanted to walk. When I say blockages, I mean it was overgrown. And so it wasn't really meant to be. So I thought I'd come to a place called Arthingworth, which is a few villages away. Come to the church that I know is there. It's got a lovely view. And I thought I'll do my vlogging in the church. And then the heavens opened up, as we've seen. And I thought I'll just do something there, because I quite like this place anyway. But it does tie into kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit, because although I don't want this to be just complete, these vlogumentaries to be just completely random anymore, I want to have an idea of maybe what I want to talk about. If I'm going to ramble, I want to at least have an idea of what I'm going to ramble about. I had an idea of what I wanted to talk about. It's a big flash of lightning. With these vlogumentaries, it would be nice to still have some kind of random commentary, but I did want to have an idea of what I might be talking about to begin with. And so, you know, I was on YouTube. I love YouTube. It may be pretty obvious that I like YouTube, being on YouTube myself, albeit on a very limited capacity. And although I do like some big channels, big YouTubers, I do kind of like finding random YouTubers. I like finding some lesser known YouTubers, often with very, very few subscribers, very much like me. And I just like giving them an opportunity to see, just to give them a chance and just hear their story, listen to what they've got to say, and you come across some really random people. But it's quite enjoyable a lot of the time, because you do feel like you're kind of a voyeur. You're being offered a window into somebody's personal views and attitudes, their lives, that you perhaps wouldn't normally get to see in everyday life. You just walk around in your life, passing relative strangers, never really knowing what's really going on, not knowing their intentions. By and large, those people are invisible. And I think in my very first vlog, the very first episode of this vlogumentary series, I did talk about how invisible we are to each other, and I still think that's very true. And what I like about these random YouTubers that are not exceedingly popular, not these aren't people who go out to make perfection or execute their videos to the high standard. By and large, they are people who are just communicating to the world their innermost thoughts and feelings, and I like that. I actually find that quite interesting to see what these relative strangers have to say. So yeah, I like having this window into the common person's, when I say common, I mean normal, average, everyday person's thoughts and feelings and motives and ambitions and hopes and dreams. Gotta lock the door. You just never know. You just never know. And so I was watching one of these YouTubers. I'm not going to mention them because I don't think that's fair, because maybe I'm going to make a slight critique. I say slight because who am I to judge anybody, really, on what they do or what they think or what they feel? They, like me, enjoy being out in the countryside, being in nature. But they were saying how being in nature relates to the Hindu kind of belief relating to prana. Now, I don't really know much about prana at all. And in fact, I know nothing about prana. But other than I know that it is a kind of life force behind all things, as the YouTuber described, a primordial force that can be accessed or felt through breathing or something along those lines. But I know, and I think the YouTuber was reading an excerpt, a paragraph, a page from his book that he's writing, and he was talking about being in nature and the importance it has to prana, suggesting that prana is enhanced, is enriched, or whatever it is, it's made better by being in nature as opposed to being in the world of people and work and technology, etc. And I just thought to myself, I find it quite interesting when you get spiritual types who make an awful lot of truth claims all the time. And I'm not saying I'm not a spiritual person. I think I'm an actually very spiritual person, but I think I'm quite reserved and quite unassuming with it. I don't shout about it because I don't think because I don't want it to be like a fashion. And I think there are a lot of people out there who use the spirituality as a type of fashion status, or, you know, to get prestige, or to separate them from other people, to make it clear that they're different from others. And I don't think, for me, that doesn't feel like real spirituality. That's a kind of pretentious kind of spirituality when you talk about stuff, but you don't really live it. I don't have a problem with people who have any kind of spirituality, in fact. But I did notice that this gentleman was making a lot of truth claims. So, number one, he was talking about prana as if it was a proven fact, that it existed, that it was a thing. You know, just saying that basically being around nature is better for the prana, whatever that may be. It's primordial life force, energy. And I thought to myself, but how do you know? You don't, you know, it's just a classic case of people making these truth claims about something they cannot really know about, and then saying you will be better because if you go into nature. I love being in nature, in the natural surroundings, in the countryside, away from people, on my own, having peace, finding some peace in the quiet of the countryside, apart from today when there was lots of combine harvesters. So I get that, but I don't think we, you know, I felt that this gentleman was really romanticising nature, making this statement, this really bold statement, that it will make you feel better, it will bring you closer to this prana thing, or it'll enrich this prana sort of life force, life energy, it will do all this thing. And I thought to myself, that's a bit bold. I don't think it's arrogant, but it's just people of a spiritual, I know a lot of people who have this spiritual inclination where they kind of get lost in it, and there's no real place for scrutiny or skepticism. And I think that's not a good thing, because I think you can get lost in it. And I don't think the idea of spirituality is to be lost in it. I think the idea of spirituality is to really find who you are, really find what this thing called life really is all about. But if you kind of subscribe too much to it and get lost in it, you may as well just be like everyone else who's going out consuming, getting loads of cars and nice houses, and essentially what I'm saying is it's just another form of distraction. And in my upcoming videos, I do talk about these people. I call them the devoted, because I think lots of people can become devoted to an idea or a way of living or a way of being or doing certain things. And I think that whether it's a spiritual belief, paganism, Christianity, whether it's your job, whether it's your children, whether it's activism, I think you can begin to use that as a kind of distraction or a status symbol or something, so that it almost becomes, you become lost in that existence of whatever it is you devote yourself towards. And I did feel that this gentleman making all these truth claims about prana, about how it will make you feel better, was romanticising it. And it was a red flag. It made me think, you're a bit lost. You're a bit distracted by this. I think you've lost the point of it. And I'm being arrogant. I'm making truth claims. But I think I am always ready to let go of anything that I feel or believe. I do draw on my intuitions a lot, and that is a big part of this whole process, this project. My intuitions, my gut feelings, my base level of perception, I trust in it. But I'm not arrogant to assume that it's correct. I might learn a new piece of knowledge that changes everything that I feel. I'm ready to let that go at any moment. So even when I make a truth claim, even when it seems like I might be quite certain about something, I would say don't be fooled. I'm ready to let go of any thought, because ultimately I'm quite a believer of being quite agnostic on many things, sitting on the fence, which is again going to be part of a video coming up hopefully soon. I think being agnostic on a lot of things is a much more rational, logical way to be, whether that be spirituality, whether it be politics, whether it be ethics or morals. I think it's much better to kind of sit on the fence for quite a considerable amount of time and kind of lean towards certain areas, but don't just go all in. I think that's when you get lost, and I think that's what's happening in the world. People are getting lost because they become so absolute in the way they view the world. They stop being sceptical. And I think that's actually quite a dangerous thing, but I think it's disadvantageous because you might lose the opportunity to learn something else. So this gentleman, I just felt he was romanticising. I felt he was romanticising nature too much, because while he was being very poetic, and it was quite beautiful what he was saying about nature, but then I thought, no, because you were lost, because you were talking about prana as if it's an absolute given, that that it's not even disputable, and so therefore nature will make you feel better and it will have us. I thought, you're forgetting that nature is also very brutal. It's indiscriminate in how it responds to the stimuli and the molecules and the collection of bioorganic things that are around. You're forgetting that it can be quite cruel. You're forgetting that maybe life is just this self-organising causal chain that leads to complexity, that reduces complexity. I don't think it's a good thing to just make those truth claims. So I'd say to this gentleman, I'd say don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Nature might not be, and it probably isn't, any different to the capitalist, consumer-driven, industrialised world. Nature is capitalist, industrialised culture too. It's all the same. They're all the same. Where do we say this is nature and this is not nature? So I try to be agnostic on a lot of things, and I think the reason why I try to remain agnostic is because I'm not the smartest. And if you're not the smartest in the world, I think it's more logical to remain unsure. But that isn't necessarily any way to live. So I do get a holistic sense of what I should be doing. This is what all of this is about. I've always let my perception, my intuition guide me. That's what all of this is. All of this journey, this project is about, really. It's me being in a certain place at a certain time, drawing from my experience, which is very limited in the world, but drawing from my experiences and intuiting something. And I don't know where this is going to go, but whilst I am agnostic, I do have this intuitive drive to do something, and I think that this fear project is where I need to be at this moment in time, and hopefully it'll become clearer if my intuitions are correct or not. My intelligence is very much mediocre, maybe even below average. I do think my perceptions are quite strong. I do feel that my intuitions are quite strong. And I do think you can be the most intelligent human being in the world, have really poor intuitions and have really poor perception or a holistic view on the world. So, you know what? It's getting this rain's starting up again. I'm never going to get home if I don't leave now. I should probably finish up this video, this documentary. It's been a lot longer than I wanted it to be. I'm running out of SD card anyway, so I'll finish up the rest of this when I'm at home at some point. It may not be today, maybe at the weekend or sometime in the week.